We're happy to be joined now by USC head coach Andy Enfield and student athletes Isaiah Mobley and Drew Peterson. And we'll immediately go to questions. And we've got in front.
Hey, Coach. David Yapkowitz from USCBasketball.com. Just how do you see the backcourt shaping up a bit? You got Ethan, who's coming back for another year. Drew over here, can slide into the backcourt a little bit. And then you add a dynamic player like Boogie Ellis over the summer. How do you kind of see that backcourt shaping up? And then, what do you think somebody like Reese can give you too? Somebody, he came a little early to you last year, but how do you see him fitting into that as well?
We have the advantage of having some experience. Guys that played in the Elite Eight, and Boogie Ellis joins us. He's a dynamic guard. He'll definitely help us. He's a big-time scorer. And Drew is very versatile, as you mentioned. Ethan has improved dramatically. He looks great in the preseason here. And we have some wing players, Isaiah White and Max Agbenpolo, play some wing for us. And then we have the three freshman guards, Kobe Johnson, Malik Thomas, and who you mentioned, Reese Dixon Waters. So we have a lot of versatility. We have a lot of lineups we could play. We could play big or small. But our guards have to be good for us if we're going to have a successful season.
We'll go to Ben up here on the left.
Ben Bolch, Los Angeles Times. The conference obviously had a very good season last year, particularly in the tournament. How does the conference, and obviously you were a big part of that, build on that success as a conference? And do you think that what happened in the tournament helps shape the image of the conference going forward that will help the conference?
Well, we're excited that Pac-12 did so well last year, including our program, to go to Elite Eight. I think it validated a lot of what we've been saying the last few years. Pac-12 puts a lot of players in the NBA every year, 9, 10, 11 guys each year, a lot of good teams. And so it was nice to see the conference as a whole and USC basketball achieve some things in March Madness. But we're focused on this year's team now, and what happened last year was great, but we understand that you have to prove it on the court. And I think our players have that experience. They've been there and have won 47 games the last 2 years. So Isaiah's been with us 2 years with Ethan and Max, and they're used to winning. So we understand what it takes to win, and we don't take anything for granted.
Isaiah, can you talk about what it's is it right to ask a player question?
Yeah.
What's it like to be here now without your brother, and the kind of role you're going to take this year?
It's been great so far. I mean, I was there a little bit before him as a freshman, so I kind of know the ropes like of being alone and stuff. But I just got to step up to the table. Obviously, our team was really good last year, so we're trying to back that up and do it again, just like Coach said. But no, I think everybody's role is expanding, including mine, and I think so far it looks like everyone looks ready for their role. So I think if we can complete and everyone just does their job, I think we'll be successful as a team for sure.
Any other questions? We'll go back to Ben.
NIL deals are a big deal nationwide. Have you guys gotten any, or have you guys talked amongst the team about that? Is that something that you guys have fun with?
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting little add-on. Especially since come back with COVID. Got a little new thing to work on with the NIL. Yeah, we've had a few guys do different things. Everyone's kind of doing their own part and experiencing their own things. You get a lot of requests and social media and stuff like that for whether it be appearances or shout-outs, stuff like that. But we're having fun with it. We know not to kind of overstep our boundaries. Always make sure we're good with compliance. But it's definitely a lot of fun to kind of experience a new terrain with being able to capitalize off our our marketing and stuff like that.
We'll go back to David.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen from Josh Morgan? He was a guy who was Defensive Player of the Year over at Long Beach State. Didn't play that much last year. But, what have you seen from him early on, and is he somebody you think that can really help, strengthen your front court a little bit this season?
Josh last year the plan was to redshirt Josh. They changed the NCAA rules so transfers were eligible to play, but he still intended to sit out and improve. We did play him in a couple games, especially NCAA tournament, got some NCAA tournament experience. We were fortunate to win those games, 3 games by significant margins, and we're able to play our whole roster. And so it's great to get him in, but he'll be a focal point of our front line this year. He's a terrific defensive player, big-time shot blocker, and he moves his feet at a high level for someone 6'11". So we expect Josh to help us this year, and he's getting better and better every week.
We'll go to PJ in the back left.
PJ Carlosimo, Pac-12 Networks. Isaiah, I loved your comments. I wish you would talk about it a little more. I don't think I'd have the guts to coach my son, to be honest with you. And you talked about how meaningful it was for you to be able to play with your brother and play for your father. Would you mind talking about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's an excellent opportunity. Not too many people get to do it. So it's been great so far. It was great playing with Evan and having my dad as assistant coach on the staff, and then making a run like we did last year. I feel like our relationship between me and my dad have gotten only stronger since he's been on staff and I've been at the school. And so yeah, I'm truly grateful and blessed to have the opportunity to do so, and especially on such a good team at a prestigious university like USC as well. So it's great.
Drew, back when I coached, it's a long time ago, I mean, transfers were unusual. Nowadays, it's the norm. What was your thought coming in, and how has it worked out so far? I mean, from Rice in Conference USA to USC and the Pac, and how has it been for you, and what were you looking for when you came, and you know, I'm calling it the midway point, where you are right now, how has it been?
Yeah, it was definitely a unique process because of COVID. I didn't get to visit any schools. I just had phone calls and Zoom presentations with coaches. But I was really impressed by the school and the staff, and you know, kind of when I heard the SoCal pitch and the weather and all that stuff, I couldn't say no to it. So it was awesome coming out here. But I initially planned on doing a similar situation to Josh, which was not playing. It actually, me and the coach talked about it for a while, and you know, I was thinking about applying for a waiver, but I didn't necessarily know, you know. But then obviously, right before the season, we got it a few days when they said free eligibility and all that. But there's definitely a little bit of a learning curve, but I picked up fast, and you know, my teammates were able to help me with that, and you know, coming into a new system. You know, I didn't even get a summer to work out with the team. We came in you know, late August. But we all adjusted to it fast. We had a few different transfers. I forgot how many, but you know, we had basically a new team here, and so all the guys with you know, our chemistry and camaraderie were able to adapt fast and you know, develop into a team that could make an Elite Eight run. So it's an awesome experience, and my first year is great here, and I'm you know, hoping to help lead the team to more success.
Yeah, Rocco on the right.
Hey, Coach Enfield, Rocco Miller, bracketshere.org. You know, last year, a lot of us will always remember that Elite Eight run, but one of the things that really jumped off the page in the middle of the season, you know, you won 13 out of 14 at one point, and your background, of course, with Dunk City and a lot of high-flying, amazing athletes during your time at USC was such a LA-style show. And last year, it was just very clear that you went to a muck-it-up defensive strategy, half-court game. I think you went from 130th in tempo down to 230th in tempo, one of the slowest in the league. So you wanted that half-court game. Of course, a lot of that had to do with Evan and Isaiah. I'm curious, now that you're a little bit more wing and guard heavy this year, how much of that carries over? You've shown that you're very flexible now, and I'm just very intrigued by where it goes from here.
Well, a lot of times in tempo, if you're a good defensive team like we were, we led the Power 6 conferences in field goal percent defense and block shots. And so it was hard to score against us. And sometimes teams took a while to get a shot off. And usually we were in a pretty good position to rebound it. We were a good rebounding team. So I think you have to play to your strengths. And our strength last year was our front line. We had Taj Edie was our second leading scorer. But we had a good overall. I think we were 24-0 when 3 guys scored double figures in one game before the Gonzaga game. So what that showed is if we shared the ball on offense and we defended, we were pretty good. And so this year's team is a little different. We don't have Evan, but we bring in Joshua Morgan, who's eligible, and Bubakar's improved. So we still have a big front line. We also have big wings. Drew's 6'8", Isaiah White 6'7", Max Agamapola 6'9". The freshman guards are all big, and so I think we'll be a little more dynamic. But our defensive system was more last year, let them come to us. Where at Florida Gulf Coast we averaged over 9 steals a game, and we were third in the nation in transition because we stole the ball so many times and got out, and we had really a 4-out 1-in type system with a lot of speed. We still have speed, but we have bigger guys here the past couple of years with Onyeka and Evan and Isaiah and everybody else. So I think as a coaching staff, we've always tried to play to our strengths, and that's offensively and defensively, and so I think this year's team will have some similarities, but I think we'll have more flexibility of how we play, whether we play big or small at times.
Any other questions? Austin up front on the right.
How's it going? Austin Scott here with the State Press. Isaiah, just kind of, we talked about earlier playing with your brother and also having your dad as a coach. Obviously, that's kind of like a fantasy scenario in a sense, and it's very rare that that can even happen. But how have they been able to kind of allow you to also create your own path, and how have they enabled you, and even for yourself, how have you been able to make sure that this is your own path? And obviously they play a huge factor, but at the end of the day, this is kind of your path. And how has that experience been kind of navigating your own path with them involved as well?
Well, like USC, Coach Enfield does a great job of just presenting like unselfishness. All of our teams that I've played on since I've been here have been unselfish, and so my brother and dad are also like unselfish as well. So when we go on our runs or we're doing stuff, like it's never a feel like of like, oh, like Evan is like almighty, or my dad is like someone higher. Like it's all like we just kind of like run our own races and support each other within that. So because of that like culture, I feel like that we have both at USC and like within like the family, it's not like there's no dynamic of like I feel like left out or in behind. And so because they're so like just supportive of me, like they want to see me do well, I always feel like I kind of have my own way.
Anybody have anything? We'll go to PJ in the back.
Andy, last year, just looking back at the tournament, you guys have had a lot of success, both in the regular season and in the tournament. If you can separate like what happened last year for the conference, will that translate? Is that going to help you and the other teams in the conference going forward? I mean, you always are more concerned with your own success, and you've had some, Oregon's had some. But last year felt more like it was conference success. What will that mean going forward? Impact yet, or what's that going to mean going forward?
Well, I think the excitement around our program is at an all-time high since I've been the head coach here, 8 seasons. So I think the energy and the excitement for USC basketball on the college campus, the alumni, the Southern California area, and nationally, it made us nationally relevant, as well as our conference. And I think with the COVID year the year before, we were 22-9 the year before, so we were going to be a pretty high seed in the tournament the previous year. So for our program and the other teams in the Pac-12 that did not get a chance the year before to go to the tournament because COVID shut it down, to then be able to go and do so well, I think it gave our conference a tremendous boost. And we were rooting for everybody else like it was our own program, because we wanted to see the Pac-12 do well. And I think where we go from here, the recruiting, I can't speak about individual recruits, but I can say that there's a lot of national and regional interest in our program from players that are interested in USC that maybe we would not have been able to recruit beforehand. So I think from a perception standpoint, it elevated our league as well as our program.
Okay, I think we have time for one more. We'll go to Troy on the right.
Troy Clarity, Pac-12 Network. Andy, kind of maybe along those lines a little bit, coming off the season that you guys are coming off of, and UCLA as well, what has that kind of done for the dynamic of the rivalry and the battle for LA?
Well, we've always appreciated what UCLA means to Los Angeles, means to the USC rivalry, as well as the Pac-12 conference. So we don't I think Mick Cronin and his staff do a great job. We recruited a lot of their players, and they recruit a lot of our players. So we all know each other. And I think it's a very healthy rivalry, and it's a great rivalry for the city of Los Angeles. The fact that both teams, I think last year was the first team in the history of the two programs that both were in the Elite Eight together, and that's special. And we have the Lakers and Clippers right down the street. So the energy for basketball in Los Angeles is an all-time high, and we're just happy to be part of it.
Okay, well, that's all we have time for. Appreciate you guys being here, and best of luck this season.